What if I told you that in medieval France, a Benedictine monk, sworn to God and peace, abandoned his vows to become one of the most feared pirates and mercenaries of the 13th century? Imagine waking up in a time where the line between holy man and hardened killer was impossibly thin, and one man walked it with deadly grace. Our story begins not on the high seas, but within the hallowed, quiet walls of a monastery in Thérouanne, Artois, in the late 12th century. Here, a man named Eustace, born into minor nobility, pursued the contemplative life. He became a Benedictine monk, even briefly the abbot of his order. But Eustace was not made for prayer and quiet reflection. He possessed a sharp mind, a formidable physique, and a restless spirit that chafed under monastic discipline. The turning point came with a bitter dispute over his family inheritance. The powerful Count Renaud I of Boulogne, Eustace's overlord, denied him what he believed was rightfully his. Enraged, Eustace stripped off his habit, renounced his vows, and swore vengeance. He fled the monastery, transforming from a man of God into an outlaw, a brigand raiding the Count's lands, a medieval Robin Hood with a far more ruthless streak. He burned mills, seized crops, and terrorized the very people he had once been sworn to serve spiritually. The whispers of Eustace the Monk, a chilling oxymoron, began to spread. But the land was too small for his ambition. Eustace looked to the grey, churning expanse of the English Channel. It was there, on the waves, that he found his true calling. He acquired a ship, then another, quickly establishing himself as a formidable privateer. His ships, adorned with black sails, became a terror to merchant vessels and even royal fleets. He was cunning, audacious, and utterly merciless. He plundered for profit, yes, but also for sheer, raw power, using the wealth to build a formidable naval force. His reputation soon reached the ears of England's mercurial King John. Ever in need of skilled fighters and willing to overlook a blood-soaked past for a loyal present, John hired Eustace. From 1205 to 1212, Eustace served the English crown, based out of the Channel Islands. He waged a brutal proxy war against the French, burning coastal towns and disrupting shipping. He was showered with lands and riches by King John, becoming a trusted, if dangerous, instrument of English power. He was an artist of naval warfare, using surprise attacks and swift maneuvers to outwit his foes. Yet, Eustace was a man bound by no true loyalty save to himself. When King John's authority waned, and the English barons rose in rebellion, inviting Prince Louis of France, the future Louis VIII, to claim the English throne in 1216, Eustace saw an opportunity. Without a flicker of hesitation, he betrayed his English patron and offered his services to the French. He swore allegiance to Prince Louis, receiving even greater rewards and command of a substantial fleet. The moniker Eustace the Monk now carried a darker, more treacherous meaning. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this tale of medieval treachery and naval warfare, smash that subscribe button. We bring you stories like this every single day. By 1217, Prince Louis was firmly entrenched in England, but the tide was beginning to turn against him. He desperately needed reinforcements and supplies from France. Eustace the Monk, the man who knew the channel like the back of his hand, was tasked with commanding the convoy. This was his most crucial mission, and perhaps his last. On August 24, 1217, a vast French fleet, numbering around 80 ships, set sail from Calais. Eustace commanded the leading ships, laden with men, horses, and provisions. The English, led by the brilliant tactician Hubert de Burgh, had a smaller fleet of about 40 ships, waiting in Dover. The odds seemed stacked against them. As Eustace's fleet neared the Kentish coast, de Burgh's ships emerged from Dover, positioning themselves upwind of the French. It was a tactical masterstroke. The English sailors, seasoned and desperate, quickly gained on the cumbersome French ships. The wind, once a friend to Eustace, now became his enemy, making his fleet slow and unwieldy. The battle that ensued, often called the Battle of Dover or the Battle of Sandwich, was chaotic, brutal, and pivotal. English archers rained down arrows, but their most devastating weapon was quicklime. Bags of powdered lime were thrown from the mastheads, blinding the French sailors and navigators below. With their vision obscured, the French ships became easy prey. The English ships, commanded by fierce knights like Philip d'Aubigny and Richard Fitzroy, an illegitimate son of King John, grappled onto the French vessels. Swords clashed, axes bit into wood and flesh. The air filled with the cries of men, the splintering of timbers, and the smell of salt, blood, and fear. Eustace's ship, the great ship of Boulogne, found itself surrounded. His men fought valiantly, but they were overwhelmed. As the English swarmed his deck, Eustace, the cunning monk-turned-pirate, tried one last desperate maneuver. He slipped below deck, hoping to hide in the bilge, amongst the rats and the stagnant water, a place where a monk would never be found, but a pirate might. But he was recognized. Stephen Crabbe, an English knight who had once served with Eustace, dragged him from his hiding place. Eustace, ever the pragmatist, offered a massive ransom, begging for his life. But his reputation for switching allegiances, for his relentless cruelty and treachery, had sealed his fate. The English commanders knew he was too dangerous to be allowed to live, too slippery to be trusted. There would be no mercy for Eustace the monk. On the gunwale of his own ship, Eustace was beheaded. His head, paraded on a pike, was a grim trophy and a symbol of the end of French ambitions in England. His death broke the morale of the French fleet, which was utterly routed. Prince Louis's invasion collapsed soon after. Eustace the monk, the man who defied his vows, challenged kings, and mastered the seas, met his end not in glorious battle, but hiding, dragged out like a common criminal. A fitting, if ignominious, end for a man who lived by his own ruthless rules. What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more incredible medieval stories, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.